Hello, everyone, and thank you for watching today. My name is Joshua Beasley, and I'm a librarian for the Gwinnett County Public Library. Today, we're going to be doing a program on Trace Your Roots, Chinese American Genealogy. Genealogy research can be difficult, but Chinese American genealogy has its own set of unique challenges and obstacles that need to be overcome. Today, we're going to do an introduction course where we'll go over free resources available through the library and some that are available online. But before we jump into those resources, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about myself and how I came to do this kind of research for the library. Full disclosure, I'm not of Chinese American descent, but I do have a keen interest in genealogy. I've got a bachelor's degree in history and a master's in library science. I've been doing over 5 years of genealogy research and programming for the Gwinnett County Public Library on topics from African American genealogy, Latin American genealogy, to other basic introduction courses. But where my real love for family research began was, well, with my family. And that's really the best place to start. Begin with yourself. Write down names of relatives, dates, places, life events that you already know. This is going to be your foundation, and the stronger your foundation, the easier your research will be. It's also really important to gather oral history during this time. Reach out to family relatives, your grandmother, a great uncle. Write down their stories. You want to add context to dates and places. If I start to tell my son about his great uncle and just say he lived from this time to this time, he lived in this state, he moved to that state, he's going to lose interest really quickly. But if I can tell him how he used to tell these great big fishing stories, and that's where I think that my son got his imagination from, he may get some interest and listen to those smaller details that will add more context to his family history. The last thing I like to tell people is not to get frustrated. Family research can be difficult. So if you start getting angry because you can't find certain documents, take a break. Come back in a couple days and look at it from a different angle. The first resources we're going to go over today are Ancestrycom and Heritage Quest, which are available free through the Gwinnett County Public Library. This slide will show you how to begin to access these databases. You're going to want to go to our website at gwinnettpl.org. There's a tab for Learn and Explore, and you want to drop down and go to the Adult Digital Resource page. This is going to bring you to all of our digital databases, and there are quite a few. But we have genre tags, so you want to look for the one that says Genealogy. Under there, you'll find the two resources we're looking for, Ancestry.com and Heritage Quest. Heritage Quest is a great resource. It's provided by ProQuest and accessible through Galileo on our website. While Heritage Quest has things like census records, military records, and diaries and other personal documents, the main resource I want to tell you about through them are their historical maps. They have historical maps that range from 1790 to 1920. And this is actually one of the first obstacles I had when doing family research. I couldn't find one of my ancestors, and I thought I knew everything about them. I thought I knew where they were born, where they lived, the dates. I thought I had it all correct, but I just couldn't find their documents. And the reason for that was the name of the county was different when they were alive. So you can come to this resource and it may help you overcome that obstacle if you encounter a similar situation. The larger resource I want to talk about today is Ancestry Library Edition. It has over 7,000 databases and 200 plus billion images. The reason I'm going to go into more depth with Ancestry is because it has a wider range of resources, as well as ones that specifically target Chinese American communities. The U.S. Federal Census Collection is a great place to start your family research. The U.S. Census is taken every 10 years, and they have collections from 1790 to 1940. I like to tell people when they start doing a census record search to add as much detail as possible. The reason for this is that people have very similar names sometimes, and if you have a common name, you may get 100,000 results back. But more than likely, 99,999 of those people aren't going to be related to you. So you want to add as much detail as you can. Their first name, last name, the date they were born, the date they died, where they lived, if they were married. Now, this does run the danger of adding too much detail and getting no results back, but I always think it's easier to go back and take out details than try to go through a very large search result. One thing to keep in mind is that census records aren't always accurate. Census record keepers were just people that went kind of door to door and wrote many of those things down by hand. So names may be misspelled, especially for Chinese Americans. They may have Romanized or Americanized these names. So a last name like Lee, L-I, they may have written down as L-E-E. So that may make it more difficult when trying to look at census collections, and you want to keep that in mind. This is a copy of one of the primary documents that they have available. The great thing about Ancestry is that almost all of their documents are backed up with primary documents from that time period. I like to recommend when you see one of these available to download it and either put it in a safe file on the cloud or on your computer with a backup, or even print it out and keep a physical copy. There's just something that makes family history more real when you can see the original document. The Vital Records search engine is also a great resource on Ancestry. These are your big life events: birth, marriage, and death. These certificates often come with certified dates, often with street addresses, and they're often signed by a witness. So the information in these are usually more accurate than, say, the census records. The downside to vital records is they weren't required or standardized in America until sometime after World War II. So if you're looking for a birth certificate and you can't find it, it doesn't mean that your ancestor didn't live here or wasn't born here. It just may mean that that state didn't require it. Or it could have been lost over time due to fires or floods in local historical buildings. Military records offer a wealth of information. There's so many collections available, from draft enlistment records, pension records, casualty records, travel records, awards and decoration of honor, disciplinary actions. The list goes on and on. Military records often are very detailed as well. So they may list height, hair color, eye color, occupation before they enlisted. It's a great place to go if you can find your ancestor. Family tree records on Ancestry is a great way to jumpstart your research. Family trees are created by amateur historians and genealogists, just people like you and me doing their family research. When you come across a family tree that has some of your ancestors on it, you want to verify the information because these aren't, professional historians. And a great way to do that is by checking their sources list. In the image, you can see on here that there's a section for sources. And the more sources they have, those are all links to primary documents on Ancestry itself. So if they have several sources, the more accurate that family tree probably is. Up until now, we've been talking about collections that will help everyone, regardless of ethnic background, do family research. But we're going to start getting into uh, collections that are specific to Chinese American. And the best way to find these is by going up to the New Collections tab. You'll see it in the top right of the Ancestry screen. In here, you can do keyword searches. So you can type in Chinese, Chinese American, China, or even some provinces that you may be from. But the broadest search I found was just typing in Chinese, and this came up with 16 collections with over 700,000 record sets. Most of the special collections that involved Chinese American genealogy on Ancestry revolve around the Chinese Exclusion Act. This is where it may be difficult to have candid conversations with family members, especially if they're young, about Asian or Chinese specific American history. It is fraught with highs and lows and some very big missteps on the part of the U.S. government. In 1882, they passed the Exclusion Act, which originally targeted uh, immigrant laborers, but expanded to include any Chinese immigrant uh, from being able to immigrate to America for a period of 10 years. In 1892, this act was expanded upon and made it illegal for people of Chinese ancestry to purchase land or marry Caucasian women. It was renewed every 10 years until it was finally repealed in 1943 when China became an ally of the United States during World War II. While the circumstances around the Chinese Exclusion Act aren't exactly great, the good thing about it from a genealogical perspective is that it provides a lot of information for those wanting to do family research. Ancestry includes record sets from 8 different states, although the majority of results actually come through San Francisco and California. These are very detailed records because it required any immigrant of Chinese descent, regardless of place of origin, to apply for entry or even re-entry into the United States. Records included details like the ship or vessel name, their date of arrival, the name of the person, their age, gender, marital status, occupation, nationality, their last place of residence, and their place of destination. Another great special collection is the Library of Congress photo collection. It goes from 1840 to 2000 and contains over 600,000 images. While it's unlikely that you'll be able to find a picture of your relative, you can narrow photo collection searches down to places and times. This can add, context to the research that you're doing. You can see perhaps where or near where your family member lived. And that can help you understand some of the things they had to go through or what their life might have been like. The downside to this collection is that the photos are often titled with offensive or derogatory language. And that's because they're titled from the photographer during that time. Um, I think it's still important from a historical standpoint and a conversation with younger members in your family to show them these photos, show them how they're titled, and explain to them how offensive that is, why it was that way, and how far we've come. We still have, especially with current events, obstacles that we need to overcome, but we need to show our family members how far we've come and what it'll take to keep moving forward. Some other online resources that I will be discussing are online dictionaries, family search, a village database, and different historical sites. Online dictionaries are very important when doing Chinese American family research. For some of you watching this program, not everyone that is Chinese American speaks Chinese or writes it either. And a lot of these primary documents, especially from China, will be written with Chinese characters or in pinyin, which is a romanization of how Chinese characters may sound to a Western audience. There are several free online dictionaries available, and there are also character converters where you can upload an image and it will translate it for you. One I'm using here in my example is mdbg.net, and I found it to be one of the more inclusive programs that's pretty easy to use. Family Search is another great genealogy resource, very similar to Ancestry.com. It's free online, and you can get there simply by Googling Family Search. It does require an account, but it's free to sign up. The two main record sets that I found useful from this research for Chinese American genealogy are the Chinese cemetery records and the China collection of genealogies. The downside to these sources is that they're an image-only search. It does break down the family name and location, but after that, all you get are these primary documents that are all in Chinese. So this is where your online dictionaries and translators are going to become very important if you don't speak or read the language. The Village database is another great free resource online. I've got the URL listed on this slide, so if you need, you can pause the presentation and type that into another search bar. The Village database breaks down clan names by county, area, and city. So it helps you narrow down which areas your family may be from in different regions. When doing family research, it's very important to understand the history of events that were going on around the time that your ancestor lived. This helps you understand what they had to go through, some of the hardships that they had to overcome to get you to where you are today. A few historical sites that will help you understand Chinese American experiences are the U.S. National Archives, which has a great selection on Asian American Heritage Month, the Chinese Historical Society of America, and the Museum of Chinese in America. All these are free resources that you can check out online simply by Googling their names. I want to thank everyone for watching our program today. I hope this has been a good introduction to free genealogy resources available both through the library and online from other resources. If you need further assistance doing your family research, you can do so by contacting the library. There are plenty of librarians that specialize or have a keen interest in genealogy, and you can reach us at our phone number at 770-978-5154, through our online chat service on our website, and you can get specialized help through our Book a Librarian service, where you can sit down with a librarian for up to an hour and talk about some of the specific problems or issues you're having while doing family research. Thank you again, and I hope you have a great day.